to third-rate content. And today we are in the Shropshire village of Shawbury, known at one time as Salisbury, which actually means, in the language, Old English of those times, village by the wood, or settlement by the wood. We're going to be finding out all about the folklore of this area, about the two wagons that would be pulled up around here on the village green by the church. There's a playing field here now, but it would have been churches of the medieval period, like Shawbury Church of St Mary's, always had a village green close by, and that is where the two wagons would have been pulled together, and plays such as George and the Dragon and Prince Musidorus were enacted on the 14th of August each year, which is the feast of St Mary, which is very fitting as we are right next to St Mary's Church as we speak. So buckle up and I'll see you out here. St Mary's Church is a Grade 1 listed beauty, and it sits right here next to the village green, as we said. The feast day of St Mary's was on the 15th of August, and it ties right in to the church here. Of course, churches dedicated to St Mary or Mary are a high medieval sort of thing that happened after the Norman conquest, when the sort of Catholicism that the Normans brought to England was in full effect. So you would find a lot of churches built around the Norman era dedicated to Mary, St Mary. Yeah, I think you'll agree, St Mary's Tower on the church is an absolute stunner, and it dates from the 14th, 15th centuries, and it is a perpendicular, in the perpendicular style of those days. We're just peeking through a look at the north doorway. This is a Norman original door. You can't really see it much today because they've locked the porch. Of course, church roulette has come into play here at Shawbury Church of St Mary. Yeah, it is thought that that doorway dates from the 12th century. I'm trying to bring you the best we can do. But it certainly does give you that historical continuity that the villagers probably passed through this doorway out onto the village green to watch the summer plays and have a lovely time in the summer, hopefully sunshine that they had. Shawbury in the Domesday Book was noted with the presence of both a church and a priest. And Shawbury is a very good example of a parish church, with representation of every medieval building style from the Norman era onwards. This blocked lancet window is of early English period, like the rest of the chancel. Would you actually say that's a synchronicity? We're here talking about folk plays of the 16, 17, 1800s, and then first grave we actually looked at in the churchyard was called Shakespeare. I would call that synchronicity. In fact, I will put it in my synchronicity diary later. The chancel of St Mary's Church was rebuilt in the early English period. Yeah, there is some pretty stunning stained glass here at St Mary's Church. However, we won't be able to see any of it from the inside as it's meant to be seen. But some of it is from Germany and continental Europe. Yeah, there is German glass that shows a vicar and his wife in a touching memorial. If you ever get a chance to go into St Mary's, check it out and tell us all about it in the comments. That's a beauty, isn't it? Could anyone tell us what that means or what its symbolism is? If you do know, please tell us in the comments, and thank you in advance. I didn't come across anything in my research mentioning it, but it is either a radiating sun symbol, radiating out the light, representing Jesus, or some sort of magical mark. Who knows? Yeah, the detail on this sandstone arch is absolutely fantastic. The south doorway, like the north doorway, is Norman. Yeah, all this old stories of history and stuff. You do wonder, are there any spirits left here? With it being so ancient, and we don't know fully what was here before the Norman church of the 14th to 12th century. We have to speculate, and with so many funerals, weddings, and just people coming here, you think perhaps some of their stories were enshrined in the stone. We don't know. We can speculate, but there's a nearby church of Churchyard where if you circle the church a certain amount of times at midnight on a certain day, I think it's the 31st of October, well, you will find out who in the parish is going to die in the next 12 months. Quite a grim bit of folklore, but you do wonder, is there anything like that here at Shawbury St Mary's Church? Yeah, I'll post a poll on my Instagram story if you like. And do you think St Mary's Church could be haunted? See Instagram if you'd like to have your opinion recorded. Back on the village green, let's picture those August plays again. The Folklore of Shropshire says Shawbury hosted plays like St George and the Fiery Dragon. It was a wooden dragon with a squib for a tongue with gunpowder on it to emulate fire. The dragon was slain by St George himself. And this was all done to the cheer of the crowd, which could get as big as 1,000 people, which is a huge crowd when you think how small the village would have been at that time. Another favourite of this era, which was from the 1600s to the early 1900s, was Prince Musidorus, where the heroine, Amadine, was kidnapped or held hostage by a wild, dangerous bear. And it took a hero to rescue her. Yes, the prince who rescued her was Prince Misidorus. But these plays are laden with symbolism. Of course, both of them have a very similar story. Yes, the plays weren't just entertainment, they were archetypal, classic heroes' journeys or heroes' quests. George's slaying of the dragon represents the protagonist overcoming their own lower nature or animal nature and triumphing. It's an archetypal story that is told in different forms throughout history and almost is as old as humanity. The prince and Amadine fall in love, like happens in so many of these stories. It's all pretty powerful stuff for a village green in Shropshire. But you do wonder, with all these gatherings over the centuries, if maybe a St. George actor never left, or a villager who loved the place so much, they're still here cheering on in the shadows. This place definitely feels like it's whispering secrets. I'll post a poll on my Instagram story. Would you cheer for St. George right here on Shawbury Village Green? Anyway, thank you for joining us today on Third Rate Content, visiting this absolutely wonderful Shropshire church dating back all the way to the Norman period of this country, and the folklore of the plays that were carried out around here for so many years. I'm sorry we couldn't go into the church, but that's church roulette, isn't it? Sometimes it's kind, more often it's not kind these days. But that's the way it goes, isn't it? We have to make the best of it, and there's still so many stories to be told. So anyway, if you did enjoy today's visit to Shawbury Church of St. Mary's, why don't you leave us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, but thank you if you have. Leave a comment if you'd like, because I do love a good chat, and I reply back wherever appropriate and applicable. And also, if you're on Instagram, why don't you follow us? We've got loads of content every day on there, random stuff, repurposed stuff you might not have seen, the odd outtake. I've only posted one of those, but like I say, we're on there every day. So if you're amenable, I'll see you over there. And I do follow back if you've got a public account, but not if you haven't, because I just can't take the tension of sending a request and then waiting to be replied to. That's just me. But anyway, thanks a lot. If I don't see you soon, I'll see you 3 times as soon. Third Rate Content signing out. Bye bye.